Coming up, the results from the 2020 Census Bureau is out. We take a look around the population growth and demographic changes across the area. Plus, if you live in College Station, you may have lost power for a little while. How a small balloon caused a larger problem in the Brazos Valley.
And we're seeing some clouds here across the area, but does that mean better rain chances as we head toward your weekend? Your 25 News starts right now.
Connecting the Brazos Valley, this is KRHD News.
Good evening and happy Friday. Thank you for joining us for KRHD News at 6. I'm Hallie Jones. This week, the U.S. Census Bureau released its 2020 census results. And as KRHD reporter Rachel Espaillat shows us, the findings showed some major shifts in demographics and population in the state of Texas.
A taste of Guatemala right here in College Station.
We have some of our very Guatemalan things like our Mayan cocoa.
Gabriela Vasquez and her husband, who is from Guatemala, opened La Gabriela coffee shop and pastries less than 10 years ago.
We sold the Guatemalan bread. We had a lot of Guatemalan customers who were more than happy to buy from us. And so we weren't really worried about having a steady customer base. Over the years, that customer base has changed a little bit.
You get different food, you get better food. With just the food already.
Showing that the community embraces different cultures.
There's always room for more diversity and more people from different places. It's fun to see all the new people moving in.
According to the 2020 census, Texas saw an increase of nearly 2 million Hispanics in the last 10 years. There are now nearly more Hispanics than whites. As Vasquez and her husband noticed the area getting more diverse, they also diversified their business.
We have them kind of tucked everywhere. Over here we have
selling a variety of traditional Guatemalan items.
This shop is, since we own it ourselves, it's a little bit of who we are and what we represent and what we like and what we have fun with.
Teresa Juarez works next door at Eastgate Hair Shop. Her parents moved here from Mexico before she was born.
I think everybody should be welcome to Texas. Why not? It's a beautiful place.
It also allows people to see other people's experiences, especially those that are more different or even those that are less different. So you can see the full spectrum of how people experience life.
Allowing everyone in the Brazos Valley to enjoy the beauty of the state and each other's cultures together. In College Station, Rachel Espaillat, KRHD News.
Taking a closer look at those census numbers now, the population of Texas grew by 16% and about 4 million total people from 2010 to 2020. That increase includes nearly 2 million more Texans who identify as Hispanic, over 600,000 who identify as Asian, approximately 560,000 who identify as Black, and just under 190,000 people who identify as white. Texans of color accounted for about 95% of the state's growth over the last 10 years. And according to the latest census numbers, Texas boasts 4 of the 10 largest cities in the country. Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, and Austin all cracked the top 10. Houston remains the largest city in Texas and the 4th largest in the country. San Antonio ranks 7th, followed by Dallas at 9 and Austin at 10. New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago were the top 3 cities respectively. Fort Worth was just outside top 10 with the 12th largest population in the country. And for more about the census numbers across the state and the Brazos Valley, connect with us online. Pull out your phones, open the camera app, and scan the QR code that's right here on your screen. A notification banner will pop up at the top of your screen. Tap that banner to access our website and all of our social media accounts. Well, KRHD 25 News and Baylor Scott and White have teamed up to put on a blood drive to help address a major need across the entire state. KRHD reporter Rebecca Fiedler was there today to bring us more.
I'm out at Baylor Scott and White Medical Center in College Station for the last day of this week's mobile blood drive. The blood bus team collected 16 units of blood yesterday. Today, they've collected 15 more from donors like Stacy French, a Baylor Scott and White pharmacist.
It's just that it's been such on shortage with people being worried about coming out and things like that. You know, the times are strange right now, so it's difficult to get people to donate when it's needed, but the hospitals are full, so we need to make sure we have what we need for the community.
While the number of participants is lower than it would have been for a pre-pandemic blood drive, blood bus team members say they're thankful for any donations they can get. Donating to save lives. Reporting in College Station, Rebecca Fiedler, KRHD News.
And our updated numbers from the blood drive show Baylor Scott & White was able to collect 31 units of blood over the two-day drive. But people in the Brazos Valley and across the state still need blood. If you have any questions about your eligibility to give blood, we have a phone number and a website on your screen right now. If you're unsure about your eligibility, call 405-419-1538. For frequently asked questions, visit txbi.org for more information. If you live in College Station, you may have to deal with an unpleasant surprise on a very hot day, a power outage. KRHD News reporter Hannah King shares what caused the disruption and how we can all help out our neighbors as graduation season continues.
Nearly 1,500 College Station Utilities customers experienced a power outage in this neighborhood this morning. And the culprit causing the disruption is something that does not immediately come to mind, but it happens more often than you think.
This is the wall.
This wall of shame is getting one more addition.
Essentially, this is the balloon that caused the outage this morning.
This balloon drifted into a College Station Utilities substation, disrupting power in the Pebble Creek neighborhood. They've been framing them since 2018. Friday's culprit marks the fifth frame on the wall.
Mylar balloons are essentially conductive, and if they get into the power lines, they cause bad problems.
A harmless item used mostly for celebrations, but they get caught in places they shouldn't more often than not.
I'm sure there's 1,700 customers out there that would love to know who let this balloon out, would love to talk to them because they were without power. So releasing these balloons and letting them get in the power lines caused a lot of problems for a lot of people.
The main takeaway is to not let Mylar balloons go or deflate them and properly dispose of them when they've served their purpose.
There's anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people on a feeder, and so when you lose one of those, we lost more than one this morning.
Helium-filled, it's unknown where these things will end up.
Nobody who buys a balloon ever thinks it's going to end up in a power line. And, you know, if they're tied loosely to something, they come undone and they float up. And then once the helium dissipates, then they start their way down. That's when they cause problems for folks.
A time in the year where balloons will be more visible. Leaders with the utility giant urge residents to be extra cautious with them.
This time of year, people are having parties, you know, they're coming out and stuff like that. So just be conscious of, you know, the things that are going on, and, you know, and they are helium filled, so they're going to float away if you don't have them secured.
Power was restored for the affected neighborhood in an hour. Reporting in College Station, Hannah King, KRHD News.
The FDA has authorized an additional COVID-19 vaccine dose for certain immunocompromised people. It's amending the emergency use authorization for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines to allow for a third dose. The additional dose should be taken at least 28 days after the second dose. The agency said at this time, other fully vaccinated people do not need a third dose. Vaccine requirements are becoming more common, but what if you lose your real vaccination card? Well, the CDC says to get in touch with your vaccine provider to access your vaccination record. Places like CVS say a new card can be printed, while others like Walmart now provide a digital record. You can also contact your state or county health department, whichever you got your shot through. The CDC says to take a picture of your card as a backup copy. Meanwhile, colleges and universities are worried about students buying fake vaccination cards to avoid getting vaccinated. The Associated Press reports there are an increasing number of social media sites offering to sell fake vaccination cards from $25 to $200. The Chronicle of Higher Education reports at least 675 colleges and universities have a vaccine mandate. The process at some of the schools can be as easy as uploading a picture of a vaccine card. And a father and son in Hawaii are being charged with faking vaccine passports. Officials say the two were trying to use them to get into Hawaii. This is the first case with fake vaccine cards to result in charges. The Hawaiian Attorney General's office says a task force is now looking for vaccine card violators.
Really seems like we hear about a new scam every week at this point. Oftentimes, it's older adults who fall victim to online scams, but now a new report by socialcatfish.com shows that more young people are starting to fall for them as well. This includes people who are 20 years old and younger. Since 2017, the number of young scam victims has grown by 156%. Experts say that while young people grew up with the internet in their lives, they often lack experience and have a lot of confidence online.
If somebody's sending them links, you know, they're little bit more trusting. If an influencer is telling them to go shop on a website, they're willing to go trust them because, this is kind of the day and age that we live in.
And while scams aren't usually tailored to a specific age group, David McKellen says they are becoming more manipulative. Now, they often ask the person to take action in order to avoid something bad from happening, and he says it doesn't help that there isn't much regulation to stop these online scams.
There's not a lot of policing on the internet. Like the government's been getting involved in things, but I think that websites have to be more accountable. These apps have to be more accountable, because one thing that we've seen as technology evolves and changes, so do these scams.
Cybersecurity experts say the best ways to avoid scams are through education, password managers, and setting up AI technology that can find scam in emails. Homeschooling is surging in the U.S. right now.
I just thought I saw the light of learning and the enthusiasm for learning just kind of waning in him, because of the pandemic.
While the number of homeschoolers is especially growing among Black families.
Well, prices at the grocery store are on the rise, but it's not just supply chain issues that are to blame. Experts say climate change is also playing a role. Sugar is more expensive right now due to freezing temperatures in Brazil and dry weather in the Dakotas. Climate change experts say the droughts in the western U.S. could start affecting supply and prices of nuts, fruits, and vegetables. Meanwhile, experts at NerdWallet say now is the time to make a money plan. They suggest reconsidering your values and taking a look at what you are actually willing to spend money on. NerdWallet also suggests that if you spend more than you were planning for, allocate the money that would have gone to your savings to pay your debt instead. Well, practically everything has gotten more expensive lately with rising inflation. Among those, used cars, and according to several reports, surging used car prices could be coming to an end. Fueling this hope is the fact that the Bureau of Labor Statistics is reporting that used vehicle prices went up a mere 0.2% last month. Previous months saw price hikes of 7% or more. Pfizer and Moderna are expected to make billions of dollars from annual booster shot sales. Together, the two companies have already made more than $60 billion in COVID vaccine sales from 2021 into 2022. Analysts forecast that each company will make between $6 and $7.5 billion from booster shots in 2023. Well, if you've tried to buy a refrigerator, range, or washer in the past year, you know that appliances are in short supply. So how long should your appliances last before you need a new one? Consumer reporter John Matteries has some important information so you don't waste your money.
With shortages of appliances during the pandemic, like dishwashers that take 6 months to arrive, many of us are trying to keep our appliances running as long as they can. But that doesn't always work because they don't last like they used to. Hoping to get 40 years out of that new front-loading washing machine, the way your mom got 40 years out of her old Maytag? Don't count on it. Today's high-tech and energy-efficient appliances just don't last as long. The National Association of Home Builders says you may have to replace many home items much sooner than you think. For instance, refrigerator, as soon as 13 years. Dishwasher, 9 years. Microwave oven, 9 years. Water heater, 11 years. Central air, 15. Gas furnace, 18. And that sleek new water-saving washing machine, just 10 years. And from the Doesn't That Stink file, what happens when you ignore something in an attempt to save some money? That can cause costly damage, which will have you saying, doesn't that stink? So the Home Builders Group says set aside some money once your roof hits 25 years of age and your deck hits age 20. While it'd be great to get 20 years out of an appliance, that doesn't always work these days, so keep them clean and properly maintained so you don't waste your money. I'm John Matteries, 25 News.
First Alert Chief Meteorologist Matt Hines is here with a look at our weather.
And we have seen some clouds across our area today, but let's start off into the tropics where we've been tracking Krhd that has been hugging right over Cuba, and that's why it has not strengthened yet. Still a tropical depression with 35-mile-per-hour winds moving west at 12 miles per hour, and that west motion has put it over a landmass and not allowing it to really strengthen. Even though we're getting a lot of reds in the clouds here, those tall thunderstorm tops, the center of circulation's right there on the coast of Cuba, so it's not getting itself organized anytime soon here. Probably over the next 12 hours going to remain a tropical depression as it is over land, and it will eventually make its way out into the Gulf of Mexico. When that happens, we will likely see this turn back into a tropical storm, but not expected to become a hurricane right now as we head into early next week. And it looks like it'll be a little farther away from the western coast of Florida. The track has shifted off toward the west, so that means parts of Alabama and the Florida Panhandle into Georgia as well will see the main impacts from this. Still too far east to affect us here in Texas. And speaking of that, you can see showers and thunderstorms have been prevalent across West Texas today. This little disturbance is getting a little bit closer to us, and I think that will fuel some more shower and thunderstorm potential over the next couple of days. And as we check out what we are anticipating tonight, well, not much. I think things will be pretty quiet. And as we move into tomorrow, most of the thunderstorm activity is probably going to be north of us, so just a slight chance of thunderstorms on Saturday. Slightly better chance, though, as we make our way into Sunday with scattered showers and thunderstorms possible. I think Sunday's our better day to see some of those showers and thunderstorms here across the area. Locally heavy rain and gusty winds will be the main threat. Severe weather, not all that expected here. So tonight, temperatures falling into the mid to upper 70s. Tomorrow, we're looking at mid to upper 90s across the area, so it is going to be hot across the region once again. And looking at your forecast, 96 falling to 92 on Sunday. Again, best chance for some scattered thunderstorms will be Sunday. Then that slowly tapers up back off to isolated storm chances with highs in the upper 90s next week.
Schools look a lot different this year for many families, and it's by choice, even more so among families of color.
I think the situation we were all in showed parents that this is my responsibility. I'm not going to advocate it any longer. I've got to do something to help my child.
Joyce Burgess is the founder of the National Black Home Educators Organization. She and her husband started the group back in the early 90s when they were homeschooling their own 7 children. They wanted to connect with other black families and incorporate black curriculum. She says interest in homeschooling among black families exploded during the pandemic for a variety of reasons. Now, according to U.S. Census data, black households had the largest increases in homeschooling rates, from 3% in the spring of 2020 to more than 16% in the fall. Burgess teared up while telling us about a mom who recently started homeschooling her 9-year-old daughter who could not read.
She said, I created this spelling list of words like cat, bat, rat, fat, mat. And on the way to the grocery store, our car became a spelling vehicle.
Now, she says that there are some common misconceptions that may keep families from homeschooling, like parents thinking it's for religious reasons, or homeschooling is too expensive, or they aren't educated enough themselves. Burgess says her group and others offer nearly every specialty resource that a family could need.
There are moms like myself who are willing to mentor you and to help you in this process.
Usher Qureshi introduces us to a family that is new to homeschooling.
Like millions of children around the nation, the first few months of the pandemic meant distanced learning for 12-year-old Dorian Valentine.
It was kind of dry. I liked it, but it wasn't that fun.
He would maybe say here or present in the morning, and then there was little to no engagement after that.
Dorian's grades were slipping as he stared at a screen for hours on end. For mom Angela, it quickly became clear that learning away from the classroom was not working for the 7th grader.
I just thought I saw the light of learning and the enthusiasm for learning just kind of waning in him, because of the pandemic, because he was separated from his friends, new teachers, new students, new environment. Everything was so new, and there was just little to no engagement, and it just wasn't a good situation.
A Google for Education certified trainer herself, she decided to take matters into her own hands and became a first-time homeschooler.
I understand we were all in this transition period, but I just kind of felt like I could do a little bit better job with him one-on-one.
Since 2012, homeschooling rates have remained steady at about 3.3% of households with school-aged children. But for many like Valentine, the pandemic gave them a chance to try it out.
Hey you guys, thanks for joining today.
It turns out more and more American families are abandoning the classroom to learn at home. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the rate of households homeschooling more than doubled from 5.4% in March of 2020 to 11% just 6 months later in September. In Black and African American homes, it jumped by 5 times. Valentine began with resources and curriculums from the National Black Home Educators Organization, eventually tailoring her teaching style.
I did have to do trial and error. and find out how he learns, what his strengths were, what his weaknesses were, and how to curate learning in a fun way that would re-engage him again.
With the Delta variant running amok, spotty vaccination rates, and the uncertainty of in-classroom learning conditions, she's decided not to send Dorian back to the classroom this fall.
We're going to try it again. Yeah, we're going to definitely build upon what we've learned and those strengths and those weaknesses, and just keep working at it till we find our rhythm.
Finding that rhythm has meant moving into a space outside the home and reaching out to other families to create a homeschooling pandemic pod.
We found that even bringing the kids together on a Saturday to do a little bit of a coding class, they're like, oh my God, I gotta go to coding class. They're so elated just to be online with other kids. Awesome. And seeing each other and having fun with it. If we don't make it fun, there's no point, because the kids are just gonna check out anyway, whatever you do. Everybody wave.
And while Dorian can't help but miss his in-person interactions,
I may want to go back because I'm just taking a little break.
It'll be learning in Mom's classroom for the foreseeable future. I'm Usher Qureshi reporting.
There are usually fewer southern border crossings this time of year because of the heat, but new numbers show July was the busiest month for illegal border crossings in 2 decades. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported taking over 212,000 people into custody. DHS says the surge is partially due to the resurgence in the U.S. economy and also the immigration policies of the previous administration. President Biden has changed some policies, but is continuing to use one that's called Title 42. It allows border agents to refuse entry to most migrants without the opportunity to apply for asylum.
It is critical that intending migrants understand clearly that they will be turned back if they enter the United States illegally and do not have a basis for relief under our laws.
Meantime, there are concerns the tens of thousands of migrants crossing illegally into Texas's Rio Grande Valley are driving COVID cases up there. But health leaders in the area say these are baseless claims.
It's fair to say that they're part of it, as well as the unvaccinated, the mutations, the people unable to get the vaccine, the summer travel, the going back to school. I think they're one of many factors.
The area's highest-ranking public health leader tells our partners at Newsy that migrants tested had a 16% infection rate. That's roughly mirrors citizens in the valley. The federal government is admitting unaccompanied minors and families with young children, but is sending everyone else back to Mexico under public health laws. Those allowed to stay are processed in U.S. Border Patrol custody and given masks. They're tested for COVID by charities and local authorities when they're released. Now, the pandemic could be changing the fitness industry long term. We'll talk about the barriers to working out that aren't expected to come back. The pandemic's forced many businesses to adjust how they operate. And just as office spaces are getting smaller, you may start seeing that at gyms too.
We're going to see a variety of different things. We're going to see some gyms shrink. We're going to see some gyms go more hybrid, where they can have virtual offerings and in-person offerings. We're going to see some gyms, unfortunately, go away.
Michelle Seeger with the University of Michigan's Sport, Health, and Activity Research and Policy Center also sees this as an opportunity for the fitness industry to grow. With more workout options available, more people may want to start working out.
Flexibility equals feasibility when it comes to being physically active, and the more options we all have, the better.
People who work from home may like going to the gym to get out of the house, while people back at the office may choose a home workout option. Seeger says either way, it allows people to build connections in their community that can be especially important for both physical and mental health during the pandemic. And while some fitness centers may be struggling financially after being forced to shut down last year, she doesn't see gyms going away anytime soon.
I think we're going to toss out the rules. Those have just been barriers for most people. And in this new world, if you will, of the fitness industry, we're going to have a lot more people engaged, and that could very well get more people into the gym. So it's a time of flexibility.
Texas A&M AgriLife has released their wheat picks list conducted from 2019 to 2021. The list is published each year to inform wheat growers the best varieties to plant in time for the start of the winter growing season. The list informs growers of the best choices to plant in their given region of Texas. It also shares with growers how resilient wheat is against various growing conditions such as poor soil moisture, freezing temperatures, and terminal drought.
It mainly consists in finding the varieties with the best average yield, that with a good resistance package, especially for seasonal diseases like striped rust, leaf rust, Hessian fly, and with streak mosaic virus as well. And another very important factor that we consider is the consistency of performance across locations and across years.
For wheat growers here in the Brazos Valley, A&M AgriLife's top picks are TAM 114, TAM 304, and WB 4699. Well, last night was the coveted Field of Dreams game between the White Sox and Yankees. We saw the White Sox walk it off in a 9-8 victory. Joining us with sports is WTAW's Zach Taylor.
Here's your 25 sports update with WTAW Zach Taylor.
Hey KRHD viewers, Texas A&M Athletics Director Ross Bjork says athletic facilities will continue to operate at 100% capacity this fall, despite a recent rise in COVID-19 cases. Bjork released a statement to the 12th Man yesterday saying we are operating at full capacity for all of our venues and will provide each and every one of you with the full fan experience. Aggie women's basketball has revealed its SEC opponents for the upcoming year. The Maroon and White will face a total of 10 conference teams, with home and away scheduled with LSU, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. Nothing doing for the Texas Rangers yesterday as they were done in by the Seattle Mariners 3-1. They'll try to get back on track tonight when they host the Oakland Athletics at 7:05. After taking yesterday off, the Houston Astros return to action this evening as they visit the LA Angels. That one gets underway at 8:38. And the Dallas Cowboys take part in their second NFL preseason game tonight when they travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Kickoff is slated for 9 o'clock. From the WTAW Sports Studio, I'm Zach Taylor.
Signs about coin shortages are showing up in stores again. Coinstar's president tells us there are plenty of coins out there, it's just they're not in the right spots. Now this is a different issue than what we saw last summer. People are going to stores again, unlike 2020, so now the demand for coins is there, but Coinstar's president says people aren't bringing their change back into the market like they normally do. He says typically change sits at your house and then you take it to a bank or another place to cash it in, but he says that's not happening to the same degree that it used to.
If half of the U.S. households brought in just $5 or spent $5, right? You don't even have to bring it to a bank or a Coinstar. That would be $320 million worth of change that would pretty much make this go away overnight. So it doesn't take a lot for this to correct itself.
Coinstar estimates that about $18 billion in coins is sitting in people's homes right now. And he says making more coins isn't the answer.
Minting is helpful, but it's not what's going to get us over this anytime soon. And frankly, nor should it. There's coin out there. We don't need to be minting new coin.
The Federal Reserve says it continues to work with the U.S. Mint and others in the industry to keep coins circulating. It reinstated a cap in May on the orders depository institutions place for coins with the Federal Reserve. That's to make sure the supply is fairly distributed. The U.S. Mint has been operating at full production capacity since last summer. It produced nearly 15 billion coins in 2020. That was a 24% increase over 2019. Coinstar's president says although people used less cash earlier in the pandemic, he's seeing that not as much the case anymore. The news feed starts with the cruise industry trying to get on track, but they're dealing with COVID cases. 27 people on a Carnival ship tested positive for the virus before they made a stop in Belize. Cruise lines requiring passengers be vaccinated before they take a cruise. Now, some people may have been anxious looking at pictures just like this one here from Chicago's massive music festival called Lollapalooza. This was a couple weeks ago. Well, health officials say there is no evidence at this point the event was a super spreader. More than 90% of the 385,000 people who went to the shows were vaccinated. Less than 1% of those attendees tested positive. Now, it's apparently good to be in the vaccine business. Pfizer and Moderna are expected to make billions of dollars if booster shots become an annual part of fending off coronavirus. Health experts say that the shots could be worth around $6 billion a year, just like the flu shot. More job postings are including getting vaccinated as part of their work requirements. Job site Indeed found postings with this doubled from July to August. Still, the number remains low considering the total number of job postings out there. Many also don't explicitly name COVID as the vaccine that is required for new hires. More corporations are recruiting Black college students for internships and job interviews. Officials with the nation's top historically Black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs, say there was a dramatic increase following the death of George Floyd. Black colleges have also received millions of dollars in donations from major companies. HBCUs say it's still too soon to know how many Black college grads are actually getting hired. Now, as the smoke from North American wildfires drifts over much of the United States, some educators are concerned about the air quality in schools. On Monday, what schools are doing to keep the air inside clean, even when it's hazy outside. But still to come today, many women veterans struggle with finding a sense of identity they had while serving in their new role as a civilian.
One of the things that I've worked really hard to change just across the board with our ladies, that it's okay to stand up, it's okay to say I served, it's okay to say that I need help.
How one group is offering that support, women veterans say they've been missing.
First Alert Chief Meteorologist Matt Hines is standing by.
And we are looking at some pretty quiet weather as we make our way through the overnight hours tonight. Could be an isolated storm or two as we head into the evening, but I think most of us will be dry. Then we get to tomorrow afternoon. Not too much going to be happening around here. I think Saturday we'll keep our rain chances about 20% across the area. But as we move into Sunday, that's when things begin to change. A few more clouds around. And yes, a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms will be a little more prevalent across the area on Sunday. And with more clouds, it should be a little bit cooler for us as well. So that's some welcome news, but it's not going to last too terribly long. Out there tonight, temperatures should fall into the mid to upper 70s, between 76 and 78 degrees. And then your high temperatures will be into the middle 90s for tomorrow. But again, with the humidity, it'll feel like it's over 100 degrees. So still perfect pool weather here across the Brazos Valley. And that's probably going to continue for a little while longer here as we're heading through mid-August. We usually get all the way through September, even parts of October before we have to get rid of that. So Saturday, 96 degrees, 92 on Sunday with your rain chances increasing here. Scattered showers and thunderstorms. Not really anticipating severe weather, but some gusty winds and some locally heavy rain will be possible if you happen to get under one of those storms. We'll keep about a 30% chance around on Monday, then take it down to about 20% Tuesday through Thursday as high temperatures climb from the low to mid 90s back into the upper 90s by the end of next week. And then there could be another little pattern shift for maybe some more scattered showers and thunderstorms as we head toward the next weekend.
Bail reform has been a controversial topic across the country, but a new CNN report is looking at how much crime rates have been impacted by it. Out of the 66 largest police jurisdictions nationwide, 63 saw an increase in at least one category of violent crime in 2020. But the vast majority of those cities had not passed reforms eliminating bail. A Loyola University study found 97% of those on pretrial release were not charged with a new violent offense between 2013 and 2019. In many cases, people jailed for low-level crimes are only locked up because they can't afford bail. Now, the news feed starts with the return of two words that no one really wants to hear: murder hornet. Washington State says it has had the first live sighting of the insect in 2021 this week. Now, while the name is scary, it is the biggest threat to honeybees. Britney Spears' dad will no longer be her conservator. The Free Britney movement has been pushing for Jamie Spears to be removed. He said in a court filing that there were no grounds for him to be removed, but believes that stepping down is in the best interest of his daughter. He says he'll now work to transfer to a new conservator. Wendy's is now planning to open hundreds of delivery-only kitchens. The company plans to have 700 by 2025. Wendy's says it is seeing a growing demand for people who want their fast food brought right to their door. For any veteran, adjusting to civilian life after service can be filled with obstacles. For women veterans, identity can be especially tough. Vanessa Mashania met with a veterans group that has given women community and fellowship to help find themselves after serving.
I got completely out of the Army. I felt like I didn't owe the Army anything and the Army didn't owe me anything. Then when I started working on the civilian side, I just went into work, because that's what I was used to. And I started to feel so alone.
For Emily Hernandez, transitioning from sergeant to civilian took a toll she did not expect.
I noticed it when I was working night shift, and when I would come home, it was about a 20-minute drive. There's not a lot of cars on the road, and that's when I started to think, I was like, man, life is a lot different.
After 7 years of active duty in the Army and a tour in Afghanistan, Emily came back to her hometown of Shelbyville, Kentucky, with her son and her husband. When she got back to friends and family, something was missing. She could no longer relate to the people around her.
I want to be there for them and relate to them, but it's a little difficult.
In the U.S., there are 2 million female veterans, and although women only make up 9% of the military, it is the fastest growing military and veteran population. In a recent study published by Boston Medical Center this year, it was found that although female veterans were younger with less combat experience, they were more likely to have lifetime PTSD, depression, suicidal ideation, and more likely to use lifetime mental health services compared to male veterans.
It probably took a good 15 years before I really started to see the impact of missing that element of serving. It came in depression. It came out in anxiety.
Sherry Whitehouse says the root of the mental obstacles for many female vets is finding the understanding and a sense of identity that they had in service in their new role as a civilian. It's something she struggled with until she found it in helping others like her at Veterans Club.
Our ladies definitely have been underserved in the past, and I'm grateful to the Veterans Club for allowing that space to be open and safe.
The Kentucky-based organization helps more than 6,000 vets by being that missing link of understanding, providing healing through connection. Jeremy Harrell said they started a women-only group because the need was there.
And it's a rare thing from what I understand, and it shouldn't be. And we hope that this helps others go, we should probably do that too, because there's some women out there who gave their all for the defense of this country that are hurting because they don't feel like anybody cares.
Sherry is the leader of that program, helping women open up and own every aspect of their selves.
If I walk down the street, I promise you, they're not going to look at me and say, oh, that's a vet, as where our men do. They wear the hats, they identify, but our women, you know, we just continue on, and I found in the community, they just don't self-identify. One of the things that I've worked really hard to change just across the board with our ladies, that it's okay to stand up, it's okay to say I served, it's okay to say that I need help.
With the help of Sherry and Jeremy, Emily has now found that missing piece with the other women at Veterans Club. She hopes others take the step in finding a community who understands.
You know, there's a big group of people that are here, and we want to welcome you with open arms.
I'm Vanessa Mishanya reporting.
All right, Vanessa, thank you. And although Veterans Club is based in Kentucky, they're helping to connect people across the country. You can find more information at veteransclubinc.org. The U.S. is sending 3,000 troops back to Afghanistan as the Taliban continues to take over territory in the country. Now, these troops will help U.S. diplomats and former Afghan interpreters get out of Afghanistan. The Taliban have taken over half of the country's provincial capitals. A special sign-up period for Obamacare ends Sunday. More than 2.5 million Americans have signed up on healthcare.gov since it reopened in February. The regular sign-up begins November 1st. Now, over the course of the last 2 months, the number of fully vaccinated Americans has neared a plateau after there was a big push to get the vaccine early. It's created a challenge for states that continue to try and bump that number higher. After trying religious leaders, politicians, and money giveaways, now they're taking a page from the millennial playbook, social media influencers. Dan Grossman shows us how well their newest strategy is working.
Así es que si tienen preguntas para un reportero.
If life was indeed a popularity contest,
Y bueno,
Carlos Cornejo would have no problem competing against even the most affable of people.
how are you? What's your name? And where can we find some food in this town?
The smile, the engagement, they're all things that transcend any language barrier.
There's always a few thousand willing to watch, but I mean, we just posted it. When I was done posting it, had 3,500 views, I think, on it.
Things that have allowed this police sergeant in rural Colorado to amass nearly 1 million social media followers on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Would you consider yourself an influencer?
You know, I don't like the word. It just has this connotation to it of what I imagine with it is not what I consider myself.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Los saluda el sargento Carlos Cornejo. Connotations aside, Sergeant Cornejo quite literally is an influencer. It was just a few weeks ago, the state of Colorado approached him about promoting the safety of the COVID-19 vaccine in hopes it influences those who don't find it as popular as him.
The only information that I'll share is things that either come from the CDC or come from trusted sources. Otherwise, I'm just not interested. Then I found out this was literally Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. I'm like, okay, I probably feel okay with sharing some of your information.
Nationwide, places like Chicago, San Jose, Oklahoma City, and New Jersey have employed similar tactics, getting familiar faces to become purveyors of familiar information.
All of us are really working against the mis and disinformation nationwide. This is the biggest problem that we are reaching.
Patricia Lepiani is one of the people who helped recruit Sergeant Cornejos to join her team at the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. To her, the decision to go after those with big social media followings was easy. It's where most of the misinformation spreads.
Those that really have problems and are more hesitant to get vaccinated are those that use social media as the main source of information. So that's when the influencer program comes along, because then you have someone that is in the social media and in the digital environment that connects with you and can give you information about really this is what is happening with the vaccine.
It comes down to connection. Through research, Lepiani's group found more people were more willing to listen to information that came from someone they trusted rather than an official source like the CDC.
I had to convince my own mom to go do it. She was very hesitant about it, so we had to have some discussions about it.
Sergeant Cornejo gets it. In his Hispanic community, language barriers can also play a role.
Right now, it's probably more effective when you hear from your neighbor, because that's how rumors spread too. That's sometimes how people become scared of it. They hear from a friend and they're like, I'm not going to do that.
¿Ya conociste a Victoria? ¿La viste? No. To the sergeant, this may not be a popularity contest, but try saying that to those who want to see the vaccine become just as likable. I'm Dan Grossman.
Thanks for joining us for Krhd News at 6. Be sure to tune in to our next broadcast at 10. Until then, have a good evening.